Hey friend, it's Luna, and we are going to be deep diving into the tarot, okay? We're going to be continuing our journey through the major arcana that I started way back, like almost a year and a half ago, but had to put a pause on, put a little break on. In fact, the podcast in general, I had to put a pause, put a little break on that while we moved, had some health stuff going on. We're just now kind of starting to figure out. So everybody who's been sending love and just still been resharing, listening to the pod, it means the world. But back, gonna start seeing a podcast episode every single week. So get ready, make sure across all platforms you have the Luna Ashley Show. Hey, it's available. You can start listening. If you're like, wait, you had a podcast? Yes, I have a podcast. Go back and listen. So we're going to be going through, again, the major arcana of the tarot. Okay, I'm going to give you some themes, how that can apply to business. But like anything, what applies to business applies to life. So if you're just looking to deepen your understanding, maybe you're a beginner at tarot, maybe you're a writer like myself, I love to use the tarot to inform where my story is going, or if I feel a little stuck or I need a writing prompt. So great for that because it does follow the hero's journey. So we see a lot of Jungian psychology as well, and that really is a big part of the lens that you're going to be getting from me as we're moving through the strength card. So I'm going to tell you to go ahead, go back, listen to the previous episodes on the podcast so you are caught up. Okay, that's super important. Or you can go to YouTube and you can find them as well, where you can just watch a video format if that's your thing. Okay, so real quick, major arcana, we are talking about big soul themes. It's not the minor arcana, right? We're talking major arcana, which are right? Like the minor arcana, they're cool, love them, right? But they're the minor day-to-day things. We're talking soul development here. We're talking about the sticky stuff. We're talking about the big doorways of soul level up. We're talking about, hey, here's a massive teacher. Here's a big opportunity for learning, for understanding, for compassion, depending on what the card is, okay? So with that, we have landed at the strength card. So we're at the strength card today. I'm going to show it to you guys. You can take a peek. This is the Illuminati deck. Let me try and get this here so there's no, weird glare on it. But let me go ahead and describe it to you. So we have a woman who is holding a lion, more or less, right? And I want you to notice here, we have Leo, big Leo energy, okay, present here. So all things Leo are going to be influencing this card. So think showmanship, whenever I think of Leos, I think of great hair. So great hair. So if you are a Leo, if you have Leo anywhere, let me know. I'm sure you have great hair. But it's this showmanship, it's this bravery, it's this natural leadership that they exude. So again, all of this here are invitations to deepen into those themes, okay? Now, I want you to keep this in mind that we have a woman and we have lion. We have this kind of dual nature happening, which we're seeing in this also infinity symbol. Okay, there's a connection between this card and also the magician as well that I dive even deeper into in the podcast. Okay, this is not an exact replica, this specific video. So I dive more into that and that connection with the magician card on the podcast if you want some just more history, okay, and the connection that we're seeing through the hero's journey, okay? But we're talking about a dualistic nature here that we all have between our rational mind, between up until this point the experiences that we needed to have, the new beginnings, teachers, different just lessons that have presented themselves. But we're beginning to see a shift at this card at this moment in time, right? If you meditate with this card, if you're like, man, like I think this is the phase that I'm currently in, right? We're beginning to examine our internal world and the animalistic nature that we all have, right? So this can look like, and often does look like, those fears, right? It looks like the freeze, flight, flee response, or the fawn response, right? That's what we're talking about here. On a base animalistic level, are we letting those desires, are we letting those primitive urges run a riot, right? Or have we made friends? Have we made friends with these parts of ourselves that just on their own literally could devour us, could destroy us, right? Being fed to the lions, literally. We can do that to ourselves if we listen to certain parts of ourselves without going, hey, what's going on here? What part of myself needs a little bit more love and nourishing? And why is there a part of myself reacting in this way right now? And how can I sit here, witness, and honor what's coming up in me instead of projecting, instead of saying it's so-and-so's fault, instead of, and I said this on the podcast, but we can literally find anything. Any belief that make it as try not to, right? But hear me out on this. You can find someone on YouTube, you can find some random creator who is gonna back up whatever it is that you come up with and say, look, I am right? Even if you're bending what they say so far sideways that it really isn't the original meaning, right? I think we've all done this, right? We go, look right here. I am right. This person says blah, blah, blah. I'm right. And so instead of looking outside of ourselves, right, and doing that, it's looking within and going, okay, why am I projecting right now? What's going on? What do my inner instincts say? And am I listening to those, or am I pushing, and am I stuffing those? Am I working with my instincts, or am I working against them? Am I letting my instincts run the show, or am I allowing this to help fuel me, right? Am I allowing this inner knowing, these different parts of myself that I've integrated, right? This card has to do with a lot with integration and understanding the dual nature. Am I allowing that to be an ally, right? In fact, one of the themes, I have notes here, my handy dandy notebook. Okay, one of the themes here is that the enemy, right? When I think of fear, right? Fear being, that little voice that wants to get you to stop. Fear being that little doubt, that little who do you think you are, the imposter syndrome, whatever that looks like for you. But that thing can become your ally. That thing can become your ally if you're brave enough to sit and ask these questions, right? And be uncomfortable with not knowing always the answer to the questions, but being willing to ask them and not run away and not project the blame onto someone else when we're scared of sitting with that part of ourselves. Okay, so you have the power. That's another theme of this card. You have the power to establish whatever it is that you have set out to do. But the key, again, is going to be integration. It's going to be understanding how to follow your own instinctual gut urges, like this is right for me, this isn't right for me. But it's not just that, because that can run crazy, right? That can be like, I just don't feel like doing anything today. I just gotta, sleep in, ease, right? Another day of sleep, right? This is when the animal instinct can just run too far. At some point, the rational, logical mind, right? That civilized mind has to come in and say, okay, yes, and, right? How do we integrate these two? So if you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe I am swinging from one side to the other, this is really the question. How do you integrate? And what does integration look like for you? Here's the key. It's going to look different. Up until this point, you've been learning, right? Very 1, 2, 3 equals this result. This is how so-and-so person achieves success, right? At this point, it's where you go, I've got to find my way for me, and it's going to look different than how it looks for someone else. And that's okay. I'm not going to shame myself, shame someone else. It's okay, right? As leaders, when we move through this card, it's like, okay, how can I help someone else find their own way, right? How can I help them integrate, listen to that inner wisdom? How can you listen to that inner wisdom to find your own way, right? And not be scared of this part of yourself that so many people are. And so they hand power over to someone else because that's an easier, softer way. All right? This is integration, integration, integration. Okay. Affirmation for you. My feelings and my instincts serve me well. My feelings and my instincts serve me well. Because sometimes they can serve you not so well, right? So we're using the power of affirmation, that to really direct what are we wanting to happen here, okay? I gave you the question. This is a great journal question. What parts of myself am I stuffing? What parts of myself am I not listening to? What parts of myself are really desiring to be heard right now? That in so doing is going to help give that fuel for my business, for the next level, for my relationships, whatever it might be, okay? All right, let me reference the notes. Make sure I haven't forgotten anything here. We go more on the podcast into some folklore specifically around this. So if that interests you, definitely go listen to the podcast, because this video and the podcast are meant to work together but not replace each other. Okay, guys, I think we have reached the end of this card. Again, it's a reminder that you have the power. You have the power to see through whatever it is you're wanting to bring into manifest reality. Like that is what this card is. Yes, it's strength, it's fortitude, it's all of these things. But you get there through the integration of these two parts of yourself. So reflecting on that, where am I at? Am I operating totally out of civilized, rational mind? Am I operating totally out of just my base instincts and what feels good, right? Or what I feel like today? Or am I integrating these two things? Where are you in this journey, in this strength that only you can navigate, that only you can go and say, hey, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to sit with this. This is not easy work. This is not easy work. This is heart. This is heart work. Okay? This is a teacher that many will run from. This is a teacher that it's easy to kind of like understand on the surface. It's one of those like we talked about. You can understand it on the surface and bend it so far that it doesn't make sense, right? I'm going to encourage you to dive a little bit deeper into what this strength card and this archetype actually offers, which again is deep integration. And on the other side is an even deeper level of self-trust. Trust is a big word in this one. Self-trust and self-leadership, because this card reminds you that you do know the way when you truly stand on board that all parts of yourself are welcome. All parts of yourself are welcome. All parts of yourself are welcome. So with that, thank you for being here. I love you guys, and I can't wait to see you on the next installment when we keep journeying through the major arcana. Bye, guys.